This is 9 News.
Colorado is waking up with no winner declared yet in the governor's race. Challenger Bob Beaupre was leading last night, but this morning, Governor John Hickenlooper has pulled ahead slightly.
All right, these are the latest numbers with 92% of the precincts reporting. Hickenlooper has 48% of the vote. Bob Beaupre has about 47% of the vote. About 13,500 votes separate them right now. Still too close to call.
Elections judges in counties including Denver and Boulder spent the night counting those ballots, and they still have several more hours to go.
We have team coverage of Decision 2014 for you this morning. 9 News political reporter Brandon Rittiman is in the Information Center with our political analyst Floyd Cerulli.
Yeah, those guys are tired. Reporter Colleen Ferreira is at the Denver Elections Office. Reporter Noel Brennan is at the Boulder County Clerk and Recorder's Office. We also have Toronto Thomas tracking the national results. Quite a night for the Republicans.
First, we want to get a quick check of the weather and traffic. Marty, today is going to look kind of like yesterday, another mild day.
Oh, very nice out here today. Wind here, a lot of wind up along the border with Wyoming. By the end of the rush hour this morning, we go from the mid-30s to low 50s, and we do it with some extremely light winds, single-digit wind speeds here. Now, we are seeing some gusty winds in the foothills this morning. We'll start to see that wind shift over into the northeastern plains in the afternoon and actually slow down a little bit around here, but single-digit winds during the day. Temperatures up in the lower 60s for the afternoon with sunshine around here. Really nice early November day we have going for us. Later in the planning forecast, I will detail a weak cold front that is coming through, and we have rain plus some snow in our front range forecast. Right now, Tanya's going to get us caught up on that Wednesday drive to work.
All right, good morning to you, Marty. Good morning, everyone. We are taking a look here from Sky 9 up on the extreme north side there. I-25 right around 120th as you're making your way through Thornton and Northglade. Don't worry about your speeds. They look good coming into town. If we take a look from our CDOT shot at I-25 in Alameda, you'll see just about the same thing. Pretty light traffic out there right now, so no problems really. If you're heading on down through the bridges, you've got 5 minutes on either side with those speeds. And taking a look at our map, you'll see just the same situation all around the metro, even south on C-470. Minor slowing into some transitions, and that's about it. Gary.
All right, thank you much. 2 minutes after 6 o'clock right now. As we mentioned, Decision 2014, the governor's race still too close to call. These are the latest live numbers coming in with 92% of the precincts reporting. John Hickenlooper has a 1% lead over Bob Beaupre. That changed, by the way, overnight. When most of us went to bed, Beaupre was leading by a couple thousand votes. 9 News political reporter Brandon Rittiman is with our political analyst Floyd Cerulli in the newsroom this morning. Gentlemen, first of all, did you get any sleep? Second of all, what about the governor's race?
First off, yeah, I got a hair of sleep, but we're going to spare you some of the Monday morning quarterbacking because we're still trying to call the game, right, Floyd?
That's right. We're getting close.
We're getting very close. Right now, we're looking at about 13,500 vote advantage for Governor John Hickenlooper.
That's right.
But as you can see right here, we're still waiting for some precincts to come in. This 92%, it's kind of tough to know exactly what that means right now, right? Because given the nature of this election, we don't know how many people voted.
Right. But we do know that if 92%, if this represents 92% of the electorate, there's about 150,000 votes still out there, if those numbers are accurate as reported by the Secretary of State. And what that would mean is that Beaupre will have to get 60% of the votes out there to make up that 13,000. That is going to be extremely difficult unless they were all from really Republican areas, rural areas, El Paso County.
Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. So if we take a look, we have been focusing on these 7 core front range counties, but if we kind of zoom out here and take a look at the broader map of Colorado, really what we're talking about is sort of this area right here. There's a couple of red counties in there, but really, if there's just a mass of ballots outside of that area, then we could see this lead for Governor Hickenlooper that he sort of flipped overnight in, I think, the 1 or 2 a.m. hour. Then it could change.
But if instead there's still votes in Denver and in Boulder that haven't been counted, then that makes it almost impossible for him to get 60%, and obviously could pad the governor's numbers a little bit more than 13,000.
So what to watch for today? We've seen some lines in these urban areas. We're talking about, well, it's way in here, Denver and Boulder.
Denver's right there.
Excuse me, Denver and Boulder. Told you we haven't gotten enough sleep yet. So if we're watching those come in throughout the day and they still have votes to be counted, that could be very good for Governor Hickenlooper indeed in these blue counties.
Right. And you know, the trend we saw last night has held up, and it's the reason why he is not in Senator Udall's position, why he's much closer to his former employee, his chief of staff, Senator Bennett's position 4 years ago, and that is that he won, at least as of late last night, Arapahoe, Jefferson, and Larimer, and he didn't lose these counties quite as much as, say, for example, Udall, and because of that, he is eking this out at about 13,000. Right. The out areas really went well for Bob Beaupre.
We started talking about this possibility early because of what was happening in those purple counties, the idea that there may be a split here. It was a very good night for the Republicans. Democrats are kind of hoping they can pull this one out, so at least it's not an entire sweep for the GOP.
All right, you guys, thank you very much. Get Floyd a glass of tea, would you? A cup of tea. Maybe that'll help. All right, thank you, guys.
Big thank you to them. I know they're so tired. Well, as Floyd was saying, about 150,000 ballots still need to be counted. And as you can imagine, while you were sleeping, elections judges counted those votes across Colorado, still counting them this morning. 9 News reporter Colleen Furrer is live at the Denver Elections Division this morning. Colleen, people there have been going nonstop.
And when we say nonstop, Corey, some people in this building have been here for about 30 hours inside the headquarters. I want to take you right into the counting room because they're still going pretty strong in here. Take a look at this shelf that you're looking at right now. 2 hours ago, there were about 20 boxes full of ballots on those shelves. Now those shelves empty. They're in the process of counting those right now, and they still have more to go, even though past those boxes too. So we know they've counted about 52,000 ballots since 7 o'clock last night. They still have, give or take, 11,000 more ballots to go. So why are they still counting? Well, here's the thing. Because of all those mail-in ballots this year, yes, a majority of the ballots they got back were mail-in, but 15,000 people still decided to vote in person. Of those 15,000 people that voted in person, 11 of them voted yesterday on Election Day. So a lot of people doing that last-minute voting, that tradition of voting in person on Election Day, that's why they are still counting in here. Now, in Denver County, incumbent John Hickenlooper still has a pretty big lead over his challenger, Bob Beaupre. We know that the people in here, yes, still have ballots to count, a couple thousand more left to go, but they are going to be taking a break in just a little bit, wrapping up so they can get some rest and then count the ballots later on this morning. And Cheryl, you know, many people at home thinking, I'm going to vote, but does my vote really count? This is sheer proof that your vote counts, and they are making sure that it does.
Yeah, in these close races, you understand why every one person makes a big difference. Colleen, thanks a lot. 6:07 now, 30 miles to the north of Colleen in Boulder County. Much the same going on. Around midnight, the county tweeted that they would be counting ballots into the early morning hours. 9 News reporter Noel Brennan is there. And Noel, now they're saying it's going to be lunchtime.
Exactly, Cheryl. Though a lot of election officials here are hard at work, though one place you don't see a lot of activity is the tally room. That's because we're just learning that they won't do another tally until about 8 o'clock this morning. A lot of those ballots right now are actually here in the scanning room. They're getting scanned, getting put into the system. And if you look off further to the right, you can see that they are still unloading boxes of ballots. They're putting them through a machine right now that's cutting them open, making it a little easier for those workers to start tallying those votes. Again, we probably won't get an update until 8 o'clock this morning on just how many votes have been tallied, but the last update we got was that 106,000 votes had been counted so far. That leaves about 30,000 votes left to be counted. Well, Boulder County decided to keep counting throughout the night, especially because the governor's race between John Hickenlooper and Bob Beaupre, it's been so tight. Of course, we've learned that Governor Hickenlooper now has the ever so slight edge over Beaupre. Well, the Boulder County Clerk says election workers have been hard at work throughout the night and the morning, and really, they would not want to be anywhere else. Gary, they say that this election is so important, they know their role is very important. So again, they might not be out of here by noon, until noon today. All right, as Corey just mentioned, Noel, they must have strong coffee there. That's all we can figure out. All right, it's 9 minutes after 6 right now. Colorado Republican Cory Gardner is celebrating his big win over Democrat Mark Udall. This is one race that feeds into a bigger national picture of the election.
9 News reporter Tronda Thomas is covering this aspect. Last night, a huge night for the GOP, Tronda.
Yeah, absolutely. So huge that their candidates are on the covers of every major newspaper website in the country. Check out Cory Gardner on the cover of the New York Times here with that race. He beat Udall 50 to 45%. Proof that our race in Colorado is really being watched closely, like a lot of races across the country. Now, if we're looking at some of these races and we're talking about our state turning red, you know, we're not the only state to have done that. There's several other states that were considered battleground states where Republicans won. Now, several toss-up states were too close to call on Election Day. 2 of them were Kansas and Iowa. Now, those 2 states did go the Republican way. Another toss-up was New Hampshire, and New Hampshire actually went blue for the Democrats. So if we find them on over here, we'll say they went blue for the Democrats. Louisiana, that was considered a toss-up too, but that's a question mark. Democrat Mary Landrieu did have a small lead, but not enough to really pull away. So that is going to be a runoff election. So Republicans could stand to gain even more seats in the Senate, and they have an even bigger majority in the House than they had before. So now Republicans control both the House and the Senate. Gary, Cheryl, and Cory, a lot of political experts are saying this is showing that people were ready just to go in a completely different direction.
They made that very
I think that is obvious.
Rhonda, thank you. And we've just learned that at 12:50 our time, President Obama is going to hold a press conference talking about the election and what it will take moving ahead. And he's invited legislators to come to the White House on Friday.
Of
lot
course,
of people wanting to hear from
a lot of people thought this election was a referendum on the president. So we'll see what he has to say about that.
Right. It's 6:11 now. We're keeping a close eye, particularly on the governor's race here in Colorado. We'll keep doing that for you this morning. We're also watching the decisions and amendments and the propositions that have changed.
There are some clear winners and some clear losers.
We're on the way for another beautiful Colorado today. We do have some high clouds drifting into northwestern Colorado. There's no promise of rain or snow in those for the day today. 20s, 30s, 40s in eastern Colorado. Some wind kicking up has been able to mix things up overnight and keep temperatures relatively mild. We'll keep sun here across the Front Range, not only through the morning, but through the afternoon and evening as well. Upper 50s and low 60s again today for our high temperatures from Metro Denver up through northern Colorado, with 40s to about 50 in the foothills. There are those clouds in the northwest. They stick around for the morning. They fall apart a little bit in the afternoon, but it won't be completely clear for our friends generally from Vail to the northwest up through Steamboat, Hayden, and Craig. 50s and 60s east, 40s mountains in the north. Will be in the 50s, of course, for the Arkansas and San Luis valleys, with 50s in the western valleys. Looking ahead now, we're starting out on Friday. We have a weak front that's going to be moving down through Wyoming during the day, and then during the evening it drops down here through the Front Range. If you live above 7,000 feet, looks like it'll all be snow, but not much. Generally less than 1/10 of an inch of snow, and the liquid equivalent here is only about 1/10 of an inch, so it's a little rain snow mix. It will clear out by Saturday morning, but kind of a windy, a little bit damp coming up Friday evening. Today, sunny. Not much wind here. It's windy up along the Continental Divide and along the Wyoming border. Clear, calm, and cool tonight. We have 2 warm days coming up. Tomorrow all day. Friday until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then the wind kicks up and the rain and snow sweeps through here in the evening. It will not last very long. We'll be clearing Saturday. Have a nice warm day on Sunday. And of course, Tanya, now we have more folks out on the roads, and looks like we have some issues to deal with.
Yes, we do, Marty. And in a busy stretch, too. That's northbound I-225, where we're seeing a crash where the car really into the wall. That'll be before you hit I-70. And so we do have a lot of slowing traffic that's going to take them a little extra time to get to that flyover. If we take a look at our maps, though, a couple different accidents going on, and both of them reported on Arapahoe. So if these are the correct reports here, you have one at Arapahoe at Jordan, so approaching very busy interchange there at Parker Road, and then farther out to the east, getting closer to E470, one at Arapahoe and Liverpool. And so we're hearing that both of those may be working and could cost you some time down on that south side. If you look at the large map, though, still most stretches are green. Greg. Cory.
That is great. Tanya, thank you. Time now, 6:16. Colorado is saying no to the so-called personhood amendment. Amendment 67 failed by 64% to 36%. This amendment would have meant fetuses and embryos would be considered a person and would receive all legal rights and protection that a person has.
Colorado's also saying no to casinos at horse tracks. Amendment 68 failed 71 to 29%. This one would have amended the Colorado Constitution to allow expanded gaming at horse race tracks in Arapahoe, Mesa, and in Pueblo counties.
And then there was Proposition 105, the GMO labeling requirements, and it was defeated handily, 67 to 33%. That would have required food manufacturers to label some, but not all, genetically modified food as protected with genetic engineering. That would have started in 2016.
Colorado said yes to open school board meetings. Proposition 104 passed 70% to 30%. It will require all school boards to have their collective bargaining negotiation meetings now open to the public.
And because there are about 150,000 votes left to count, we continue scrolling results at the bottom of your screen this morning. It is now 6:17. It is the day after Election Day. The dust has not quite settled, though, so some interesting things to watch.
For sure.
All right, there may be a good reason to play video games. Do not tell my kids this, Gary. I already have a hard enough time.
Yeah, one thing is video games could help you sleep.
No, I'd be in for that.
Weird.
The last time America saw a government where a Democrat was president and Republicans were in control of both the Senate and the House, the stock market, well, it did pretty well. Well, now that the balance of power has shifted once again, is this an indication that we'll see perhaps another bull market?
They were looking to compromise on each side, and we're looking to compromise and create policies that would help grow the U.S. economy. At this time around, we've seen so much partisan gridlock that is unlikely to change, and we may not see the same phenomena that happened previously.
Of course, the key to market performance will be the fundamentals. We're talking about strong earnings, healthy hiring, increased consumer confidence, as well as spending. Well, game maker Nintendo unveiling some new technology. It's intended to help us sleep better. It's a sensor for your nightstand that will track your sleep patterns. It offers suggestions on how to improve your quality of sleep after it takes a look at what's been going on. The company calls this a quality of life device as it tries to redefine what entertainment means. Nintendo consulted with sleep experts around the country to come up with this thing, and the sensor is made by a medical company. So, all right, sounds legit.
It's weird, though.
It is weird, but
you know, to go from playing video games to helping you sleep a little bit better.
Right.
But
why not?
we'll see.
If it works.
All righty then, 22 after 6. A portion of MSNBC's election coverage is being replayed on computers and iPads all over the place this morning. It's because apparently anchor Tom Brokaw needed to bring home some milk.
Or so he said. It is 6:25 on this Wednesday morning. A timeout from all the election results for a second this morning for a moment that we can all relate to. Tom Brokaw's coverage of Decision 2014 is trending because of his phone.
This is pretty funny. Brokaw's cell phone went off during live election coverage, but on top of that, the sound was an emergency alarm.
Mitch McConnell, well, could that be me?
No, it's not you. It's something ambient.
No, I'm afraid it is, unfortunately. The alarm goes off, and there you are.
I thought you were a fire. Yeah.
Yes, I will remember to bring home the milk and the right. And don't worry about it, and I'll feed the dog in the morning. Just sleep in. It's going to be okay. I'm sorry about that. At any rate.
Wife was checking in.
I like that. The video has a couple thousand views on YouTube so far. Doesn't include the people that have watched it on the news sites. So there you go. But he's a classy guy.
We all saw that, and we all scrambled to check our phone. Like, let me make sure this thing is off.
Right?
Right, exactly.
Why would you have that ringtone, though? That is the worst ringtone.
Maybe he's a very solid sleeper.
Maybe.
But it scared the dickens out of me every morning. I just pounds out of bed.
No way.
All right, it's 6:26 now. We are still watching the governor's race very closely this morning as numbers are still coming in.
That's right. Coming up, we'll talk to Senator-elect Cory Gardner. He's here in studio.
This is 9 News.
There is still no clear winner in the governor's race. Last night, it looked like Bob Beaupre was pulling ahead, but overnight, Governor John Hickenlooper picked up some more votes.
This election gives Republicans control of the Senate and strengthens their hold on the House. And 3 states now join Colorado and Washington in legalizing marijuana.
All right, we have team coverage of Decision 2014 this morning. 9 News political reporter Brandon Rittemans in the Information Center, and our political analyst Floyd Cerulli is also here.
Colleen Ferreira is at the Denver Elections Division, where they're still counting ballots. Reporter Noel Brennan is at the Boulder County Clerk and Recorder's Office. They're doing that there, too. And Taronda Thomas is tracking national results. Pretty much a huge night for the Republicans last night.
Absolutely. Let's take a moment to check the weather and traffic for your morning ahead. Hi, Tanya and Marty.
Hey guys, how are you doing? We have a cool morning out here now, but not unusually so. We're in the 30s right now. Up northwest side of town, we have a bit of a breeze coming off the foothills. That's holding it in the low 40s around Boulder and Broomfield. So a pretty decent morning going there. It is dry across the area on HD Doppler. We've had some strong wind gusts in Wyoming. They're dying down now, but just after midnight, between 50 and 60 mile per hour winds, we had a high wind warning there that has been allowed to expire. Aurora today, temperatures moving into the low 60s this afternoon with clear conditions right through the evening, and really for most of the metro area, light wind, sunshine, low 60s once again today. We were 64 yesterday. We will be very close to that today. It's gotten a little busier on the highways this morning. Tanya's getting us caught up on the latest issues that we have on the roads.
All right, thank you very much, Marty. We are going to take our first look here with Sky 9, 225 in Alameda. That'll be the northbounders that you really see stacked in there after Colfax, where that accident was approaching I-70. It went into the wall. They've got it moved over now, but let's take a look at some of your travel times here. Across 225, very busy in both stretches. The southbounder side, 14 minutes down into the DTC, and northbound. This is very rare when you see it a little heavier than the southbound side, but 16 minutes in that very same stretch with those slower speeds. Also up on the north end, so heavy and slow around some spots of southbound I-25, including Thornton Parkway. That's giving you a nearly 20-minute drive now down into the central part of Denver. Here's a look at our map so you can see a lot of that slowing that we're talking about in stretches where the accident was. But down here off Arapahoe, a couple different accidents, one at Jordan and also Arapahoe at Liverpool reported earlier. Those should be in the cleanup stages. Corey.
All right, Tanya, time now 6:32. Right now, the governor's race is still too close to call. When you went to bed last night, Beaupre was up over Governor John Hickenlooper, but this morning, Hickenlooper is up by about 13,500 votes with 92% of precincts reporting this morning. 9 News political reporter Brandon Ritteman is with political analyst Floyd Cerulli. They're running on just a few hours of sleep, so we so appreciate you guys being here. Brandon,
a few? I don't think I got to a few.
Maybe two?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe two.
So we were talking about
hours.
how this means 150,000 ballots still need to be counted, so a lot could change.
Yeah, Floyd can talk a little bit about how many votes are outstanding, because we've got the 92% figure on precincts reporting, and if you do the math, that gets you 150, 160-ish.
Exactly. That's where we come up with our 150 to 160,000 votes that are still out there, many of them in the metro corridor, a few out in rural areas, West Slope and High Plains, but that's a 13,000 vote difference that has to be made up here.
Yeah, and making up 13,000 votes over the course of that means, in order for Beaupre to catch up,
he's got to get about 60,000 of those remaining votes.
About 60,000 of those.
And his challenge, as you can see on this map here in a second.
Let me pull that up for you. These are precincts reporting in these Front Range, very populous counties, and what are we seeing right here?
And as you can see, as you know, our statewide average is 92, and that's about what Denver has, and Boulder's just a little bit underneath it. But as you can see, the Beaupre counties, this is El Paso, this is Douglas, are much 100% and 97%. Jefferson County and Arapahoe County and Larimer County have been split. As a matter of fact, right at this moment, while that's still a lot to be counted there in Arapahoe, the governor is ahead. And so the good news is where the remaining votes are in areas where the governor has been ahead: Boulder, Denver, and Arapahoe County. And that's why the confidence in the governor winning this is rising.
And as we looked at the map before we came out here, these counties that are sort of blurred out in the background, these rural counties, most of them are 100% in, and most of them break for Republican Bob Beaupre. So there's only so many votes he can count on out there anymore.
That's right. And as I said, as we close in on that last 150,000 votes or so, he has to win an extra share of them, because he has to now make up for this 13,000 vote deficit.
All right. Well, it was not a good night for the Democrats in general, but as they're waking up this morning, they may have this one little caveat to the Republican wave.
With this huge wave, there's this little island there, and it looks like it's Hickenlooper with not a lot of ground around, but he's still hanging on.
Oh, and you're evoking images of cartoons.
Exactly. And it's very much like it was 4 years ago when Michael Bennet was sort of the exceptional Senate candidate in the country when he survived the big Republican wave out there.
All right. Well, that's the lay of the land in the governor's race right now. We're not ready to Monday morning quarterback this thing just yet, Gary, because we're still trying to call this game. But this is the way it's trending this morning, with Governor Hickenlooper pulling into the lead overnight, if only ever so slightly.
All right. Hopefully it'll wrap up later in the day. Thank you. 6:35 right now. Cory Gardner is Colorado's newest senator. The former congressman beat incumbent Democrat Mark Udall 50 to 45%. And that helped Republicans gain control of the U.S. Senate. And Senator-elect Gardner was nice enough to get up early and be with us this morning. Did you get any sleep?
Well, just a couple hours, I think. More than enough.
Well, we appreciate you coming in. So obviously voters sent a message last night. It was a huge night for Republicans. What's your take? What do you think that message was?
Well, I don't think anybody can take this as a message for Republicans or against Democrats. I think they ought to take it as a message against what's happening in Washington and against dysfunction, against this sort of a problem that the people of this country see with Washington not putting solutions forward. I think that's the message. That's the takeaway.
A lot of the exit polling last night around the country indicated that people want to get rid of the gridlock in Washington. Right. So now that the Republicans control Congress, there are two schools of thought. One is there will be more gridlock. The other is, well, these Republicans may work with the president now. What do you think?
Well, if there's more gridlock, the same thing happens 2 years from now that happened last night, except the other way. What we have to do over the next 2 years is make sure that we are putting things on the president's desk that we can all agree to, growing our economy, the Keystone Pipeline, those things where the vast majority of the American people agree to. We should put those on the president's desk, work with the president, and show the American people that we are mature and competent in our governance.
Having said that, a lot of people think that Senator Ted Cruz might have set the tone. He said, now that we are in charge, we need to investigate the president and the administration. That sounds kind of confrontational.
Well, you know, again, he's one member of 100 out of the Senate, and so obviously people have their different opinions on what should happen. But what I think should happen, as I said last night, is the people of Colorado who made it clear. You know, they're not red, they're not blue. They're crystal clear in what they believe, and that's Washington, get your job done and get the heck out of the way.
What are the issues that you believe that Coloradans want you to work on right away?
Very clear on the economy. They want more. They want more jobs. They want more opportunity. You know, middle-class families in Colorado and around this country have seen their incomes decline. They do want us to work together on solutions for energy issues. That's traditional and renewable energy. And they want us to get out of the way. I think that's the big takeaway, too. When the government is all the time too much, when they're picking it up in the newspapers and they're seeing the dysfunction, they're just seeing it, they're tired of it, they're ready to go away. Just do your job. The people of Colorado do their job every day. Why can't Congress do it, too?
All right. You going to take a couple days off before you get to work?
Not at all. We got a lot of hard work. We're starting right now.
All right. Senator-elect Gardner, thank you much for coming in, and best of luck to you. Appreciate it. All right, Cheryl?
Yeah, he can sleep in a couple years, right, Senator Gardner?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. A 5-point win by Senator-elect Gardner boosted congressional-elect Ken Buck's run in Colorado's 4th congressional district. That's Gardner's old district. It may have also played a role in Congressman Mike Kaufman's race. Kaufman held on to his seat in Colorado's 6th congressional district, handily defeating his Democratic opponent, Andrew Romanoff. The race was largely considered a toss-up throughout the campaign cycle, yet Kaufman had an 11-point lead with 59% of the precincts voting when the race was called early last night.
To those of you who supported me in what began as the most competitive House race in the entire country, thank you. Thank you.
Kaufman's on quite a streak. He has not lost a race. He's entering his 4th term in Congress. This is Romanoff's 2nd straight campaign defeat, having lost to Senator Michael Bennet in the Democratic primary 4 years ago.
All right, time now 6:39, and right now some elections judges across Colorado are still counting votes. 9 News reporter Colleen Ferrer is live in the Denver Elections Division. Colleen, have they taken a break yet?
Good morning, Corey. When the clock hit 6:30, majority of these workers left this room for the first time in 14 hours. All of them were in here since 4 p.m. yesterday, making sure that your ballot counts, that your voice is heard. Right now, there's a few people in there just turning off the computers. They have counted 52,000 ballots since 7 o'clock last night. At this point right now, they still have, give or take, 11,000 more to go. So later in the morning, they will come back here to finish up counting those ballots. You may ask me, why are they still counting ballots here in Denver County? Well, that's because 11,000 people decided to vote in person on Election Day. We're at the Denver election headquarters right now. They tell me that of all the mail-in ballots, because everyone this year did receive a mail-in ballot if you were a registered voter, 15,000 people decided to still vote in person. And of those 15,000, 11,000 voted in person on Election Day. That's why they still have more ballots to count. Here in Denver County, Governor John Hickenlooper still has a really big lead over his challenger, Bob Beaupre. We are going to stay out here all morning and, Gary, see when they come back, but they definitely deserve this much-needed break. Some people here at the headquarters have been here for about 30 hours.
Wow. All right. Yeah, I would say they deserve it. Thanks. 6:40 right now. Much of the same going on in Boulder County. The clerk says this one could go on until at least noon today. Noel Brennan is there. Noel, Boulder has been slow to count ballots in past elections, too.
Well, Gary, I can tell you, though, they have been hard at work, some of them staying through the night just to get this counting process done. You look over here, you can see that a lot of these people are now going through the ballots. They're opening them up, and they're separating them and sorting them. And if you walk over here, a lot of those ballots are also in the scanning room. They're being scanned, and they're actually being put on these little cards that are then brought into the tally room where the official vote is counted. Well, election officials have been hard at work. A lot of them actually have even been taking naps and then coming back into work. The governor's race was a huge factor in the Boulder County clerk deciding to keep counting throughout the night.
There was a bag on the table there. So, waiting for the body.
You know, we had just enough ballots where, you know, maybe we could have gone home, maybe we should stay, but since the race was close, we decided definitely to push on and keep going was important for all of the candidates and for the voters of Colorado.
And several more volunteers have showed up. It looks like the morning shift has arrived. A lot of activity here. And also, you can see that there are plenty of more ballots that need to be counted. Count at least 20 boxes here. And Cheryl, there is another shipment of boxes that are down below on the first floor. So still a lot of work left to do here in Boulder.
I hope they'll be home by dinner.
Yeah, really.
All right. You too, Noel. We hope you're home by dinner. Thanks, Noel. It is 6:42 now. The Republican wave in this election includes formerly Democratic Senate seats in 7 states, including Colorado. 9 News reporter Taronda Thomas is breaking down the national picture for us this morning. Taronda, what should we know here? What stands out?
You should know that the tide is officially turning because whereas we had a lot of gridlock in Washington, D.C. before because Republicans controlled one and Democrats controlled the other. Now we're seeing the U.S. House and Senate controlled by one Republicans. Look at this map of almost all red. These are all House seats that Republicans now control. They're on track to have their largest majority since Harry Truman was president, up to 246 seats in the House alone. But let's switch gears and talk about the Senate. Everyone's still talking about that Gardner-Udall race. Take a look at all the seats that were gained here. 52 versus the 45 that they had in the previous term. That's enough to have the majority. They gained 7 seats when they only needed 6. There could be another one coming from Alaska. Votes there are still being counted, and they're leaning towards the Republican candidate. It's definitely something that a lot of people are looking at this morning. Another attention that a lot of other states are getting for going red. Arkansas, Montana, South Dakota, West Virginia all went Republican. Democrats also had a hard time in gubernatorial races. Take a look at this. 31 Republican governors versus 15 Democratic governors now. Let's scroll on down to the map and you can see a couple of states are still a little too close to call, including Colorado. We are hearing that there are about 150,000 ballots left out, but even if Governor John Hickenlooper does maintain his spot as governor and as a Democrat, he's going to be in the minority because there are many, many more Republican governors than Democrats. So it looks like this is yet another category where Republicans are going to maintain an edge as that tide is turning.
All right, if you can't take the elections anymore, you can head to the slopes on Friday.
There you go.
There you go, right. Keystone, Copper Mountain, and Breckenridge all planning to open for the season. All that powder gets me excited. Loveland and Arapahoe Basin ski areas are already open for the winter. Marty, this is great news.
It is great news for them. I wish I had a little more natural snow coming for them in the next few days. We won't see a lot of that. It is fairly windy up along the Continental Divide this morning. That's going to slow down this afternoon. We'll shift a little wind out onto the plains later in the day, but here along I-25, calm day. By the end of the rush hour, we're looking at temperatures in the low 50s around here. And if you're thinking about your weekend, no matter what you want to ride, lawnmower, bike, or snow, you can do it. It's going to be nice here. The rain, snow Friday evening will be gone, cleared, and out of here by Saturday, though a cool day. We'll be back into the 70s by Sunday. So really, no matter what you want to do, weather shouldn't get in your way.
A lot of those graphics look great except for the lawnmower part.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't see the rake to rake those leaves
That
either.
also doesn't sound fun.
No.
Oh, man. All right, 6:45 right now. Recreational marijuana legal to some degree in 3 new states this morning.
And there's one city that will now be taxed for soda. Next.
All right, good morning. We are going to take a look from Sky 9 as they make their way out of that 225 stretch and into I-25. But what they just left was a crash that was southbound 225 right about DTC. If we take a look at the CDOT shot, you can still see it from the Yosemite camera. This is the last of it. Getting up on the tow, it will get out of there. Traffic now very slow from before Parker Road. You'll see that southbound side now 30 minutes nearly. That's all the way from the I-70 stretch into the area where we just saw Sky 9 flying. Down into the Denver Tech Center, however, these times look really nice. So 7 minutes or less with those speeds, not really bouncing out of those 60s just yet. And across that C470 stretch heading into I-25, we also have that 10-minute drive, but speeds look very, very nice, Cheryl, as you're making your way towards that area.
All right. We always love to see a little green, Tanya. Thanks a lot. 6:49 now. Voters in Aurora have made it clear they are keeping a ban on pit bulls. The vote to uphold the ban won by a 2-to-1 margin. It's been a controversial question. People opposed say the breed-specific bans are not fair. The City of Aurora's Animal Control Division supports the ban. They say dog bites have gone down since the ban was put into place.
We're still waiting to learn how Larimer County voted on a sales tax increase. At the last update, supporters of the tax rose 52% to about 48%. The revenue would build a new shelter for the Larimer County Humane Society. If approved, the sales tax increase would add 1 cent to every $10 spent on applicable purchases for up to 6 years.
Recreational marijuana will now be legal to some degree in 3 more states after the election. In Washington, D.C., the law, which could still be blocked by Congress, will allow residents and visitors to grow and possess marijuana but not sell it. In Oregon and Alaska, measures will allow it to be sold in stores for recreational use, as they are now in Washington State and, of course, here in Colorado. Berkeley, California is now the first city in the United States to pass a law taxing sugary drinks, including sodas. The measure will place a 1 cent an ounce tax on all soft drinks.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 6:50 now. If you have a GM car that's part of a recall, the car maker really wants you to get it fixed right away.
And it's basically going to pay you to do it.
As dry as it is here in Colorado, it's hard to believe that folks are getting pounded by rain, but they are. In the Southern Plains, Texas, parts of Arkansas, Oklahoma, these are all the remnants of Hurricane Vance. They're getting pounded with rain. See about 4 to 6 inches of rain down there. Temperatures 20s, 30s, 40s in eastern Colorado, teens and 20s right now in the mountains and in the west. We keep the sunshine with us through the day today. Wind will be generally light. Now, we have seen some gusty winds in the foothills. Those are going to slow down a little bit this afternoon. Mid-50s and low 60s from around the metro area to northern Colorado and up into Morgan County. 40s to near 50 at and above 7,000 feet. Statewide, high clouds move into northwestern Colorado this morning and kind of play with that part of the state from Vail and Glenwood Springs up to Rangeley, Meeker, Hayden, Craig, and Steamboat. There won't be any rain or snow in it for you, though. We will see temperatures consistent with where they were yesterday in the 50s and 60s through the east, 40s and 50s in mountain areas, especially in the north, and 50s out west. Our next weather system comes in Friday in the evening, drops down through here during the evening hours about 5 to about 11 o'clock. Light rain, a light rain snow mix in and near the foothills. It'll be out and gone by Saturday morning. Sunshine, 63 today. Not a lot of wind for us today or tonight. Low 30s tonight, close to 70 tomorrow. Now Friday, that 67-degree temperature happens early in the day. We drop down late in the afternoon and evening with that blast of evening rain and snow that is gone by Saturday. Our Our next big weather change comes up Monday when some cool air starts to move through. Tanya, more troubles.
Yes, we do. So we're going to take a look at Sky 9. They were just down at C470 and I-25, where it does look good right now, but want to mention both tomorrow night and then this weekend, we have more construction going on there at C470 eastbound to northbound I-25. Bear that in mind. 225 is where our real problem spots are right now. If we take a look from our CDOT shot, this is the last of that crash southbound 225, right about the DTC exit there at the boulevard. They will get that up and out of the way. The speeds, however, are very, very slow all along the stretch because we had that accident and then earlier one northbound I-225 before you got to I-70. Those speeds really now coming across Alameda are only in the 20s and dipping as you're making your connection to westbound I-70. Here on the southbound side, though, you can see that in the teens to single digits as you're approaching Dayton and then getting down into the DTC, it does get a lot better. Back at the wide map, though, we are looking better on the outskirts here and up on the north side, still staying very, very nice across the Boulder Turnpike with those high speeds. Southbound I-25 will have that usual slowing around Thornton Parkway. Gary.
All right, Tanya, thanks. It is 6:56. Our top stories. The governor's race in Colorado still too close to call. But overnight, Governor John Hickenlooper took the lead from Bob Beaupre. Both Hickenlooper and Beaupre waited at their watch parties until close to midnight before calling it a night. Hickenlooper said now the lead is in the lead, I should say now, because of results in Boulder and Denver counties that are coming in more, both Democratic strongholds.
Do not lose heart. Get a little sleep. I think I'm still going to be awake for a few more hours.
I wanted to come down and thank each and every one of you for being here tonight. It's been a huge night for Republicans.
All right. It is interesting to note that the governor actually did much better in Jefferson and Arapahoe counties, two huge counties, than his Democratic Senate counterpart, Mark Udall, did. So people were voting for Cory Gardner and Governor Hickenlooper, kind of a split ballot.
Yeah, not necessarily voting party, but voting person, yeah. The first national exit polls shed some light on overall public opinion. NBC News reports 54% of voters polled currently disapprove of President Obama. That's just shy of George W. Bush's 57% in the 2006 midterms. 79% disapprove of the job that Congress is doing. That's 1 percentage point shy of the all-time low in exit polls. And only 1 in 5 say they trust the government to do what is right most or all of the time.
Of course, there's always a money angle to what's going on in politics, and markets may react today to Republicans taking control of the U.S. Senate. Energy stocks might rally on hopes for legislation to approve some new oil and gas pipelines.
The Republicans are likely to try and repeal the ban on exporting oil from the United States, which has been in place since the 1970s. Secondly is they will look to make it more favorable or more easy for companies to export natural gas, especially to our allies. And thirdly, they will push for the approval of the Keystone Pipeline.
On the road, the GOP could also push for budget cuts, maybe consider another fight over the debt ceiling next year sometime. But history shows Wall Street is a little bullish post-midterm elections. Since 1928, the S&P has posted an average gain of about 7% in the 3 months following a midterm election. GM's trying hard to get the cars that it's recalled into dealerships now and get them fixed, but they're having a tough time doing it. So now the company is offering car owners $25 gift cards to a variety of stores if they take their vehicle in and get repaired by December 1st. General Motors started recalling millions of vehicles just about 9 months ago, but only half of the 2.6 million defective ignition switches have been fixed so far.
Wow, so they're going to pay you to fix it. Very cool. This is a sure sign of winter. Check it out. Trail Ridge Road is officially closed for the season. The highway connecting Estes Park and Grand Lake shut down yesterday. High winds, freezing temperatures, and blowing and drifting snow, making some pretty hazardous conditions for drivers there. The road is closed at the Colorado River Trailhead on the west and many Parks Curve on the east. It typically reopens in late May. All of that snow gets me excited.
Yeah. There's some decent looking snow up there.
Yeah, there is.
Snow up there. Sunshine down here.
Sunshine down here. We have a lot of warmth around here. Today, of course, low 60s. Tomorrow and Friday are warm. Friday evening, a quick shot of snow. Notice, though, that we drop off again Monday. We have another frontal system moving through, and that's going to knock us back into the low 50s for a while, even into the 40s on Tuesday. So we might get a little bit of drizzle. You may see a snowflake out of that, but not a big storm by any stretch of the imagination. Back to reality next week.
All right. We are going over to Channel 20. We'll talk to our our political analysts over there about what the heck happened.